Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the DanJohnUniversity.com podcast. I'm Dan John, and this is episode 322. Boy, things are going quick. As always, I sit down here each and every week and I answer your questions. There's a lot of armor building formula questions that have been showing up in the last few weeks. Recently, I published the follow-up to Armor Building Formula. Again, as I always joke, with that sexy title of Armor Building Formula 2. It's 20 pages longer. It's 200 pages, $2 cheaper than the original. And just as a reminder, folks, you can find it at danjohnuniversity.com/bookstore. The Armor Building Formula, the original, stands by itself. It's how you do the original program. 2 basically is for the million, I can't remember what I said last week, 400,000 questions, whatever it was, that I've answered ever since. People ask questions all about the, can I add this to it? Can I add that to it? What about this? What about that? And I did my best to solve it all in 2. I also have Armor Building Formula for Fat Loss, which is a really fun program. And honestly, the best feedback I've received, especially over in the forum at Dan John University, is for the people that have been trying to do the ABF for fat loss. There's something magical about walking after workouts and of course, having some kind of caloric restriction. Reminder then, if you have questions, send them here, podcast at danjohnuniversity.com. Let's begin with episode 322 with a question from Christian. I just turned 40. Stress levels are under control. I'm generally healthy, decent body comp, move pretty well, except one of my shoulders recently decided I needed some suprastratinus tendonitis in my life. Taking care of it with a physio. My main issue these days is fear of missing out, FOMO. I want to do all the things. Strength train, kickbox, grapple, dance, hike, mountain bike. Problem is, I don't recover like I did 10 years ago. Trust me, in 10 years from now, you'll be like, I don't recover like I did at 40. Life is, man. On top of that, with daily Tai Chi practice and some tonic work, which no longer feels optional at this point, my training time budget shrinks faster than my pants do around the holidays. I understand from your work that I should prioritize hypertrophy at this age of my journal. I've got the armor building formula ready to go as soon as my shoulder gives the green light. Say I attend 2 90-minute kickboxing or grappling sessions per week. These take a lot out of me. Would it be a good idea to limit myself to 2 weekly armor building formula sessions? It's an interesting idea. While keeping the same sequence, essentially drawing out the program. Or would I not be doing the program? What kind of advice do you have, and how would you program for someone my age who wants to make progress in hypertrophy and strength and still engage in physically demanding hobbies? Well, I'm not going to give you the entire book here, Christian, but in Armor Building Formula 2, I have 2 programs called Weekend Warrior programs, and I include the original Armor Building Complex, which was I now call the Running Back Complex. And then the next day is followed by presses. And I think that in your case, I would suggest you find 2 days in your week where you're not doing all this other stuff. And I want to talk about that too before I get too far. I have this thing called the Inner Circle, and we have another group opening up soon. If you're interested, danjohninnercircle.com, or just go to the website or email us or whatever. And one of the things we do in the Inner Circle is we talk about long-term things, 2 decades, 2 years from now. One of the things I would sit down, if I was sitting with you right now, Christian, is I'd say, what do you want? It's funny, I usually say I'm not a department store Santa Claus. I'm not trying to sell you, the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip or anything. What do you want? I mean, you want a mountain bike, you want to dance, hike, grapple, kickbox, you want to do a lot of things. And that's great. I have no issues with that. When I was around your age, I wanted to do discus, Highland Games, and Weight Pentathlon and Olympic lift. But the thing is, those 4 things all complemented them with an E. If I improved my Olympic lifting, my Highland Games got better. If my Highland Games got better, my discus seemed to go better. And if my discus was going well, other things would pick right up. So the first thing I'd like you to at least think about is, what do you want? And because you're going in a couple of directions, this might be a really important question for you. So what I would suggest is doing the Weekend Warrior protocol. Running back formula, one day, press the next day, and leave the other 5 days. I hope you have a recovery day in here somewhere. I hope you have a recovery day or two in there and the kickboxing stuff. But you can always adapt programs. The problem is, and I said this quite a bit last week in podcast 321, if you're going in all these directions, how do you know what's working and what's not working? It is what is known as systemic education. I talk about it in the Art of Coaching, available on Amazon. Systemic education, a good way to explain it is you have aphids in your plant in your house. So you go to the store and you talk to 10 different people at the plant place, and they give you 10 different chemicals to put in, and you put this one in, you put that one in, you put all 10 in there, and by God, if the aphids don't die, okay, they die. Good for you. But so does the plant. Well, which one of those killed the bugs? I don't know. So when you throw 10 things into the soil, you don't know what works. So one of the things I recommend for a lot of people is to back up a little bit, do one thing, give it 3 to 6 weeks to see if it's working, add another thing, 3 to 6 weeks to see if it's working. And by the way, sometimes when you add that new thing, it makes the other thing not work anymore. When I learned how to do hip thrust correctly from Brett Contreras, I was amazed in a few months how we didn't need a whole bunch of other exercises anymore. You'll have to come to my workshop to hear the whole story. No, I'm just kidding. It's when you have certain exercises and it fixes things, all of a sudden I was able to get, I don't need that, I don't need that, I don't need that, because the hip thrust had taken over. With the goblet squat got rid of 3 or 4 of my progressions that I used to teach the squat, because it was like, people just look at me like, is that what you mean? I'm like, okay, yeah. So just remember, when you add things, you gotta, there's addition by subtraction. When you add certain things, you take certain things away. Sometimes you're just left with an awful mess, or a dead plant in your living room because you put a bunch of junk in there. I hope that helps. Can you bodybuild and strength train at the same time? Yes, but you just got to be smart about it. So, Weekend Warrior, Armor Building Formula 2. And thank you for your question. We have a question from Dave. Long story short, I'm 56 and have spent most of my life working and playing hard. Rugby, soccer, surfing, touch footy, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I wish you guys would stop just giving me the letters on that one. In the last couple of years, though, my recovery, especially from physical work, has slowed down quite a bit. As a result, I've dealt with my share of hip and back issues. That said, something about the kettlebell keeps drawing me back in. Godfather 3. I wanted to ask, have you seen people experience upper to mid back issues, specifically when doing the single arm clean and press? I'm going to stop right there, because that's, listen, I like single side kettlebell work, but they have to be done correctly. And I have this little rule: the chin, the sternum, and the zipper have to be in a straight line. So they have to be stacked up on each other. And I'll watch people do single arm cleans. They'll hit like this, and they'll twist and turn back, throw it down, twist. And I got to tell you, I threw the discus at a high level for 41 years. I would never allow myself to do those movements as a discus thrower. I'm just going to tell you, read Stu McGill's work, and I'm convinced that yes, you can do a lot of crazy things, but then one day you got to pay the piper. Thank you, Rocky Balboa. So yes, I have seen people hurt themselves doing the single clean and press. And never viciously or horribly, but just that, And for those of you, when I tweak my neck, from all those years of playing American football and then some concussions, when I tweak my neck and it gets that cramp and I can't turn like this, very often, very quickly, right after that, I'll get an ear infection. And when I get an ear infection, I swear it goes all the way over to here. Then I have an ear infection, so now I can't sleep right. I don't feel good. The problem with hurting the back for me is always the things that happen after. Okay, I know that's just my experience with hurting my neck, but I know people who hurt their lower back and then within days have massive digestive issues. Well, actually more likely elimination issues. So yes, you get that little tiny injury, but the real problems come from all the little things that radiate from it. I tried doing double clean and press, but the next day soreness in my groin often leads to lower back discomfort. Yeah. I have your ABC program, the armor building formula. And while I really appreciate it, the combo of goblet squats, which seem to tighten my hips. I don't know where the goblet squat is in the armor building formula, and the clean and press tends to leave my body pretty wrecked and in pain, both bad pain, not good pain. Any advice or adjustments you could suggest would be much appreciated. I really don't want to give up on myself. I want to master the kettlebell and keep my body strong for the long haul. Well, of course, obviously I want you to, you say you have my ABC program and then you talk about doing goblet squats. It's double kettlebell front squats. But so one of the things I want you to do is make sure you have the actual program and not this telephone game. Yeah, I get it. I go, there's sites online that, there's places that put my PDFs online illegally, but also people do this telephone game. Oh yeah, I heard Dan John talk about the armor building formula, and it's, and I'm just going to make up numbers. This is not true. And it's 5 cleans, 5 presses, and 5 front squats. Next person says that's way too much. I'm going to do 3, 3, 3. Next person sees that and then decides to put snatches in it. Next person adds rows, and pretty soon you don't even know what you have on the screen or the piece of paper. I would like you to actually get the Armor Building Formula 2 book, danjohnuniversity.com/bookstore. In there are some ideas about the Weekend Warrior program, which I think might actually help you. It's going to be, one of the workouts is just the double clean and double front squat. And I got to tell you, when you do your presses, you might need to find another family of presses. Half kneeling presses, maybe even bottoms up or waiter press. I like staying on 1 foot presses because I think it really makes the whole body have to figure out what the hell's going on. But you're going to have to find some exercises that give you the benefits of the kettlebell without the downside of breaking you further. I would like you to also either, depending where you live, see a physical therapist or a physio or something, because we need to get a handle on what's going on with these injuries that you're getting after each and every workout. Injuries are soreness. This is just something, maybe it's very easy to fix. Maybe you need more protein or more water or better sleep. Maybe a better mattress. I don't know what it is, but let's look into it, okay? Thank you. I gotta love this name. I got a question from Supreme. And Supreme says, when I was 21, I was morbidly obese at 5'7", 328 pounds. Over the years, I've lost and gained weight, powerlifting, done bodybuilding, the workout that shall not be named, calisthenics, cycling, running, boxing, you name it. I love physical activity and fitness. I'm turning 32 next week, so wow, 11 years, you've lost all that? That's amazing. 32 this week, and this year got down to 163 pounds at my lowest over the past year. I realized I fell in love with the barbell and into it with the kettlebell. I sold my old equipment and upgraded all of my kettlebells and calisthenics equipment to focus on my efforts in a new direction. I love the new style of training, but after the last bit of weight loss, around 200 pounds to 165, I lost a good amount of strength and recovery capabilities. This is one of those times where, I kind of wish we had your blood profiles each and every year for the past 11 years. I'd love to have your DEXA scans for each year, the last 11 years, so we could see where the trend truly is. My doctor is very good, and he always talks about the trends with me. Don't worry so much about this thing or that thing. You got to look at the trends. So when you say you lost a good amount of strength and recovery capabilities, I'd like to know what you mean by that. Let's continue. I recently bumped my calories from 2,000 daily to 24 to 2,500 daily. So you're at 165 and you're eating as much calories as I eat in a day, and I weigh 199. So either you're on a real you're on an interesting maintenance, or I don't know. And I always prioritize 7 to 8 hours of sleep, 7 or 8 hours of sleep, and at least 10,000 daily steps. And I do the same thing. And I got to tell you, folks, I know there is no science behind the 10,000 steps, but I got to tell you, I'm at 11,000 right now. The 8 hours sleep is like 8 hours of sleep, 8 glasses of water, 10,000 steps. Yeah, maybe there's no science behind any of them, but everybody listening knows that that's a pretty good number and it's reasonable and you should do it. Healthy whole foods only and plenty of hydration or drinking water. Yet I still don't seem to recover well anymore. I may be pushing it too hard with my workouts, doing a full body every other day, using a combination of calisthenics and kettlebells and cardio on days in between, but I'm unsure. I switched to that from a push-pull legs 6-day program I ran for a long time with daily cardio. Based on my nutrition and current workout style, what do you recommend for a nutrition workout plan going forward to keep the fat off while regaining my strength and endurance with better recovery? Well, the first thing I would say, man, is I would take a vacation. Holy cow, you're doing a lot here. Here's a couple things I want you to do. First off, let's just get you to 3 days a week of training. If you're doing the 10,000 steps, I don't know why you need to do the cardio. You are 32, so you're young enough to be able to get rid of it. I just think you're burning the candle at, like my friend, the Colonel, and you know who you are, Colonel. I always say he burns the candle at both ends and then takes a blowtorch up the middle, and then wonder why he has no wax. I think you're going too hard. I'd much rather see you at the 2,000 calories and 10,000 steps than to add more work. The 10,000 steps a day and the 2,000 calories, that's how you're going to deal with the fat loss. His name, Tom Furman, name dropped right out of my head. Tom Furman has a book, You Can't Outrun a Donut, and it's absolutely true. You can't outrun bagels. You just can't work hard enough to overcome your food intake. And the other thing is, if you decide to, on my next trip, I just packed some long distance running books because, I'm a track and field coach and I'm just trying to catch up on a few concepts. But, when I look at long distance runners, this is how, in many cases, how they make their living or pay for their education. I'm okay, like my friend Tarleton College, he got up every single day and ran 7 miles to start the day. And then he had his, we had track practice in the afternoon and he'd run a lot then too. Run. But he also consumed a lot of calories, and he also, especially on weekends with me. But you just, if you want to be an elite Division I long distance runner, you probably can outrun beer and pasta. But for the rest of us mere mortals, I don't think we can, okay? And there's also DNA in there, but we're not going to worry about it. My first recommendation for you is this. Train 3 days a week with the kettlebells and the calisthenics. The other 4 days, and every day get into 10,000 steps, but in the other 4 days, get those 10,000 steps. Give yourself 3 or 4 weeks, keeping yourself at that 2,000 calories a day, and just see what happens and get back to me after that. Less work, more caloric control, the 10,000 steps, and let's see what happens. If you start feeling like you got a lot of spring in your step, that's a good sign and not a sign to do more. Okay, I hope that helped. And everybody knows what's about to happen. We have a question from Daniel. What a beautiful name. If you were to design a systematic progression from novice to mastery using any kettlebell programs of your choice, including your own, how would you structure it? What programs should one do and in what order? I've read your article, Things Went So Well, Help Me Screw It Up, and I thought it was missing your programs, such as the Armor Building Formula and many other good programs. Sure. I'm 26, healthy with no injuries, 176 centimeters tall, weighing 85 kilos, 184 pounds, with no significant excess fat, training to be strong and athletic, looking to enjoy all the benefits that come from consistent kettlebell training. I'm willing to buy any kettlebells needed, so no problem in terms of training tools. Well, how do you train a beginner? Well, I've always thought Pavel's classic program minimum, it's a little light. It's just swings and Turkish get-ups. And personally, I would do probably 3 or 4 days a week and you don't go, on the swings, you go for quality reps. On the Turkish get-ups, you go for quality reps. Quality. I always thought that was a good starting point. Dr. Mark Chang and I remember one time he told me that people still don't look at how valuable the program minimum is. And I agree very much. After that, you might want to play around with the challenge, like the 10,000 swing challenge. Now, listen, so you're asking me from a beginning program, and those are the swing and Turkish get-up. It's funny. It's interesting, Daniel, as I'm going through this. Of the two exercises I've probably walked the farthest away from in kettlebells are the swing and the Turkish get-up, because I have other tools that I use now. But it's funny, the first thing I recommend is to do them. After you do the program minimum, try the 10,000 swing challenge, and while you're between sets of the 10,000 swing challenge, so you do a set of 15, and during your rest period, maybe you learn how to goblet squat. You do that one day. Maybe on another day, you do that cheat clean to a side and just practice the clean. Maybe you just, try to do some presses. After that, now it's time to start getting things a little bit more serious. I think one of the best programs in kettlebells is the Rite of Passage. If you warm up with goblet squats, which you'll learn, and of course you'll have to learn the clean and press, which is fine because this is a program for it. It's 3 days a week, medium, light, heavy days. After the clean and press pull-ups, you do swings at the end, 2 days, and on the third day you snatch. Well, by the time you've gone through what I've just said, your background is pretty good. You know how to do, at some level, swings, and you've done a lot of them. Turkish get-up, 2. You've done clean and press. You've done goblet squats, and you've learned the rudiments, the rudimentary snatch. So those are the classic kettlebell 6, and now you know how to do them. From there, it's time to get some other qualities out of you, and I think it's time to move into the complexes. And I agree with you in your wisdom, because you said it, not me, the genius, Daniel, that makes the Armor Building Formula. The nice thing about the Armor Building Formula, it's double kettlebells. It's a hypertrophy program that has a lot of strength in it. If you do the ABF and all the options you can find in the Armor Building Formula 2, by the time you get done with that 8 weeks, so say like you've done this, a month of the program minimum. Oh, that'd be boring as hell for me, but I'm making you do it. So a month of the 10,000 swing challenge, 2 months of the Rite of Passage, and then 2 months of the Armor Building Formula. Basically I'm looking at 6, maybe 7 or 8 if you want to repeat the Armor Building program. You're at 8 months of investment in your training, and then you can just kind of fold your arms and look over and say, okay, what am I missing? What do I need? Armor Building Formula, in my world, in my experience, lends itself to the learning the windmill family. Pardon me, on those Those off days, you can go, we have a whole system we use, from the kneeling windmill, that's basically a Turkish get-up position, to windmill sticks, that's windmills with a broomstick, to actual, I think we use, in my gym, it's probably 3, maybe 4 windmill variations. Then you can slide back to the kneeling windmill position and practice the press from the kneeling windmill, which lends itself to the bent press. Then you can build that up to the standing bent press. After a year, you really would know the whole kettlebell world. The other thing I would recommend is probably getting certified at that time, even if you don't want to teach. In fact, it's interesting. Some of the best students I've ever had at the certifications have been people who didn't want to teach. They just wanted to learn. And it's interesting because by the time they got home, they already had people asking, would you mind teaching me? So it's kind of a fun thing. Gosh, I hope I answered that question. What a fun program that would be. For somebody else, I'm not going to do it. But there's something magical about what we just talked about. And if you were, I recommend this in the Armor Building Formula 2 book, trying something like the 10,000 swing challenge sandwiched between the Armor Building Formula 8 weeks. So it's a 5-month program, Armor Building Formula, 10,000 swing challenge, Armor Building Formula. There's just something about it that just resonates in my deep in my heart of coaching. Yeah, thank you. Fun question, and what a great name. Thank you. Well, here we go. Parker asks a question that is a little different, and my friend Ozzy didn't know if I should answer or not. Let's go. Parker asks this: if you don't mind me asking, how has your upbringing in the Catholic Church helped you in coaching, but also in everyday life, such as being a father, a son, a brother, a friend, and all the rest? As I got out of college and started coaching, I realized that without a Christian upbringing, I would not appreciate the ups and downs of coaching or life in general. Just curious on your thoughts. I think I would just hesitate on this, Parker, just to add one thing. Every religious tradition, and even our non-religious brothers and sisters, handle the ups and downs of life, because that's what we're, well, the moment you're born until the moment you die, things happen. For me, one of the things I always like, I'm from a brand of Catholicism that isn't like what some of the people I read about now who are Catholic don't reflect the Catholic traditions I was taught. The number one thing that really helped me the most, so St. Veronica's, where I went to school, was a great book school. One of the things that I think we were really taught, both in my home and in my school and in my parish, is that there is evil in the world and there's good, but you got to be very careful about how you judge things. There's an old, I've heard it attributed to Khalil Gibran, I've heard it attributed to Gandhi and others, but I've also heard it came from the Chinese, but it's the farmer, the horse, and the boy story. I'll go as fast as I can through this. A farmer had a horse and a boy. One day, the horse died. All the neighbors said, "How bad?" The farmer said, "We'll see." So the neighbors all got together, raised some money, bought the farmer a new horse. All the neighbors said, "What a good thing." The farmer said, "We'll see." The next day, the boy tries to train the horse, and the horse throws him, and the boy breaks his leg. All the neighbors say, "How bad that is." And the farmer says, "We'll see." The next day, the army shows up in town, drafts all the young men into the army. They go off to war, and they all die. And the neighbors come over and say, "Wasn't it a good thing that your son had a broken leg? Because he didn't have to go off to the war." And the farmer says, "We'll see." that was something that has been ingrained to me since I was a child. You have to be very careful about what you think is a good thing or a bad thing in life. What helped me, I'll be honest with you, because I like your question, Parker. I never learned jack from victories. We'd win a game, go in the coach's office, and I didn't learn anything. I'd throw the discus really far and win, and on the drive home, I didn't learn anything. But losing, man, holy cow. You go over everything. You just review everything. You review and you look at things and you dissect things. And I asked John Powell, of course, famously got the silver medal at the 87 Worlds when he was 40 years of age. And I said, what did you do to get it? He goes, well, I failed miserably at the 83 Worlds. And I vowed to never be that stupid again. And he thought through everything. My athletes have checklists. When I coach football, I just had checklist after checklist after. I would give managers checklists because you don't want to forget something. And so my point on this is that I was coaching actually against the town I live in right now, against them, and we had a chance to beat them with just seconds to go, and it was great. We mounted a 90-yard drive all the way down, and then one of our athletes just took the play off, and everything blew up right in front of us on a 4th down and cost us the game. And I was devastated by that loss. I just remember being so down. But I made mistakes in that game as a coach. On that 4th down play, I moved the lineman over into a different position and they didn't adjust to it. I did this little thing. We were so close to breaking it for a touchdown. It was a great game, great play. But when I walked away from that, Parker, what I did is I realized that, when it comes to winning, there are about 5 things that win games, any sport you talk about. So you need to put those things in as soon as you can. You can't have any surprises during the game. You can have special plays, but you got to practice those right away. So that failure actually propelled me as a coach to be much better about putting little things in. Good examples for those American football: 2-point conversions and onside kick, both defending and kicking and receiving. You have to win those. You got to win 2-point conversions and onside kicks. You got to win those. You got to win those plays. I think I got that vision because of my education. The other thing that helped me immensely, and I still hold this to be true, Parker, is that I believe in the absolute dignity of every human person. Of course, as most Americans, basically, I'm an immigrant family, and I don't. It's very, to me, I don't treat others as others. They're a part of the human family. People of other faith traditions, they're not bad or good. They're just in a different faith tradition. I used to joke that the worst thing you could possibly do on a flight is sit between someone who's on a carnivore diet and a vegan. Or, as I did one time on a flight, this is back when I flew cheap, and God bless me for doing it, a virulent born again and a virulent Mormon, and it was a long flight, and I didn't like that, frankly, because I try to find the gems in everything, and I hope it's true. I get mad sometimes, and I say stupid things, and frankly, I can be a total horse's ass a lot of the time. But treating and reminding myself constantly that everyone deserves my best, and I try my best to treat everyone with absolute dignity. At my 50th high school reunion, I was going to call him a young man. He was my age. Who thanked me for being kind to him in high school. And I thought, and Parker, if anyone was going to speak at my funeral in my life, I would rather he spoke, because he spoke about my kindness. Even though I was trying to, Friday nights I was trying to break people's heads off, but in the hallways, I was kind to him, and when a lot of other people picked on him, I defended him, and that's what I want to be remembered for. And I think my upbringing helped a lot. I also learned, lots of lessons about, showing up and being on time. Here there's a Utah joke. I gotta. But is this event on Utah time or Catholic time? What time does midnight mass start? It starts at midnight. Here in Utah, it starts whenever people show up. But those are some of the lessons. For those of you who are still listening, thank you. I thought it was an interesting question. There are people I don't like. I had a good conversation with someone who was very close to me this past weekend, and I talked about this person I don't like. And really, it's not that I just don't want to spend time with this person anymore, because it's always hard. I still love the person. I still have I care for the person. I still have feelings, obviously, for this person, but I don't wish them ill. I was also with another person this last weekend who uses the F-bomb on anyone they disagree with. F this person, F those people. And I thought to myself, that's not the way I want to go through life. So that's kind of what I got out of it. It is hard sometimes to balance, human dignity with high performance sports or the collision occupation people I work with. I was with some people recently who have seen terrible, horrible things, the worst that humanity can do. And there's a need sometimes to fight evil, but that doesn't mean that everybody who looks like that person is also evil. And that's the lesson I learned. I hope that helped. And it's an interesting question to finish off a podcast. And thank you. Well, if you have a question, and I'm honored to answer them, please send them to podcast@danjohnuniversity.com. I love answering your questions. Each and every week I sit down here, and sometimes I feel like I repeat the same questions over and over. But what's nice about that is that out of that repetition, I start to pick up the mistakes I'm making and explain it to you, or how I'm training my own people. So thank you very much. And hey, until next time, let's all keep on lifting and learning. Thank you.